Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to our ninth virtual leadership seminar under the auspices of Youth Impact Parliament. I would like to start today's program with a word of prayer. Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to look with favor upon this Youth Impact Parliament. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in Thy sight. Give divine guidance, clarity, insight, and eloquence to our guest speaker and host, that they may deliver and make this virtual leadership seminar memorable and resourceful for personal development and capacity building. We commit into your hands all participants, that they may understand and adopt all that will be taught today. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of this youth parliament, Volta region, and Ghana. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker, I want to welcome you all. You can see our guest speaker online, and then Sylvia Steno, welcome as we proceed to have our program. I'll proceed with the next item on our program lineup. That is the welcome address. Mr. Guest Speaker, honorable members, and fellow participants, it is an honor for me to host this memorable event as your Speaker of Parliament. Once again, this youth organization is focused on impacting its members positively and significantly. This occasion assiduously promotes the vision of this Parliament. The topic for today's leadership seminar and the ninth edition is Youth and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And this topic will be handled by our guest speaker for today, WH Kobina Adomadzi Longdon. He's a developer and chief executive of TECHFARM Hub. He's an activist and a trainer. I hereby wish, and on behalf of leadership, welcome all participants, and most especially our guest speaker, for our ninth virtual leadership seminar. Thank you all, and welcome once again. We'll proceed to the introduction of our guest speaker for today's seminar. Honorable members, William Heyman Kobina Adomadzi Longdon, as the developer and chief executive of TECHFARM Hub. Mr. Longdon is a poised for results, passionate, committed professional leadership and entrepreneurship coach, social entrepreneur, agripreneur, CSO consultant, media communication professional, public speaker, innovative youth-oriented change maker with a hands-on approach towards achieving salient solutions to provide lives, livelihood, and communities for local and global impact. He also has over a decade and half experience working in the Ghanaian CSO space as the executive coordinator of FAMPIMPA Foundation, and also provided support services to hundreds of small and medium enterprises, CSOs, and NGOs as the executive consultant of Consult MBOA and Cine Online. WH Kobina Adomadzi Longdon holds a degree in political science and information studies from the University of Ghana, Legon, and also secured his senior secondary school certificate, that is WASI, at Adisadel College, Cape Coast, in the central region of Ghana. He has also received professional ontological coaching from Crick Wharton Consultancy, a firm based in The Hague, Netherlands. He also participates and contributes at various international and national skills training seminars and workshops. Mr. Longdon is a vibrant peace building advocate, trainer, and conveyor of One Ghana Peace Call Initiative, a platform which promotes peace, justice, and strong institutions at local, international, national, and global forums. He also advocates for the localization of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2063 and the African Continental Free Trade Opportunities for youth involvement in local, national, and global sustainable development. Honorable members, I humbly introduce to you WH Kobina Adomadzi Longdon. Our guest speaker, your audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I respectfully invite our guest speaker to take the floor and lecture us on the topic Youth on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker of the Youth Parliament, the Youth Impact Parliament. Let me take this opportunity to say thank you for the invitation to be part of this youth-oriented and youth-focused agenda. I believe that anything that has to do with young people and that has to do with youth is intended for the future, but acting on it from now. And I am of much interest whenever it comes to young people and the things that young people do. So your invitation has come timely, and I want to thank you and your team based in the Volta region for this opportunity to interact with you. My name is Kobina Adomadzi. My name is not Adomadzi, so I know that when you mention my name, I come more across as an ever, which they sound very unique. The spelling is quite unusual to many people, but they know how to pronounce it. My name is Adomadzi. It's something that grace has given, and I'm thankful for the effort. I know you are the right ever. My wife is actually an ever, so I understand when you mention it that way. And to keep it simple in this conversation, you can call me Kobina. I like to interact, so I can assure you that this whole session is not going to be a one-sided presentation. The intention is to ensure that even when you come after being part of the session and you happen to be watching it later on, you still find it useful and interactive. And so for any one of you who is here and will join this interaction, I want to assure you that at some point, I'm going to have a two approach of engaging with you. I'm going to start with a typical presentation approach, which will be that I'm going to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. My topic that I've been given is youth and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So it means that I would have to come to the concept or issues that have to do with the Sustainable Development Goals, which is also called the 2030 Agenda. And then subsequently, I also come and talk about youth. But I'm going to be talking about youth from an aspect of youth leadership and leadership that begins with the self. Because for whatever it is that we are going to be doing, as much as we understand what the SDGs are and what they can do, I also do believe that we have to also understand how to position ourselves to also take advantage of these issues that we're going to be talking about. So like I've said, there are going to be two sides to my presentations today. One is on the SDGs and one is on youth and youth leadership related issues. Then, of course, the Q&A session will come. And once again, I will encourage you to put down your questions, and I will encourage you to bring in your opinions. On that note, I want to start with I want all of us to do a brief. I realize that each time that I go off, it means my screen will equally go off. That's what I've just realized. So it will be very interesting to still keep it. Okay, I think I found a way around it. I'll be sharing some slides with you after this presentation. Most of you who would like to still have this slide beyond the presentation I'm going to be doing in relation to the SDGs, you can engage me, or you can engage Jones, who I can share some materials with to use for you to also better appreciate it. I want to say that in the year 2000, world leaders conceptualized an idea that came to be known as the Millennium Development Goals. There were 8 goals in all. And what they sought to do was to galvanize global support to change the way and manner we build and develop as a global entity. And in doing so, countries who were members of the United Nations then still decided to come together and push this agenda of the Millennium Development Goals. So presidents and heads of states and heads of government signed to that agreement. So from the year 2000 through to 2015, for 15 years, the Millennium Development Goals was active. And different projects and activities were put in place with the hope of achieving the salient 8 goals that were set during the Millennium Development Goals. Beyond that period, the world leaders again sat down, and from evaluations of the Millennium Development Goals and its related achievements, challenges, and the way forward, decided to carve a new path, which was to build on the things of the old, meaning the things that was in relation to the Millennium Development Goals. And so the world leaders under the United Nations now came together with a comprehensive and ambitious agenda which promotes environmental, social, and economic sustainable development. And in doing so, it is called the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals is basically 17 clear agendas or agenda that has been set out to ensure that governmental institutions, that the United Nations agencies, the United Nations and its partners, civil society organizations, and related organizations within the NGO space, businesses, private entities, individuals, communities, leadership, all stratifications of human existence were to focus on one agenda: promoting environmental, social, and economic sustainable development. And this is what is couched within the concept of the 2030 Agenda, also called the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, out of these 17, there are parameters by which we can assess or analyze the impact of the goals. After all, they are something that operates across the globe. And if it's going to interact across the globe, then we should have things that we can at least measure. Now, how can we measure something that is almost like a policy? It's actually a framework of development, so it is a policy. how do we engage with it so that it becomes practical to us? So there are things that are called indicators, and there are things that are called targets. Each of the Sustainable Development Goals has indicators, which breaks down the structure or the bigger framework of a particular goal. So let's say goal number 4, quality education. If you mention quality education, it's so broad because education happens both in the house, in the office, in the school, on the street, at the church, in the mosque, anywhere, just about anywhere, in parliament. Education goes on. So the question is, how then do we build it in a way that it can be useful? So the very moment you think about quality education, then there are different components of education you have to begin to consider. And that is how, based on some of the learnings that the Millennium Development Goals brought out, and other way forward strategies that were adopted out of other activities of the United Nations systems, the indicators target and break down the focus of each goals. And then the target gives you specific strategies, techniques, methods that you can adopt to ensure that you can implement activities, projects, programs that can achieve those particular objectives set within the framework of each of the goals. Now, if we understand what we are talking about concerning the issue of indicators and the issue of targets, then let's look at the issue of the concept it's the slogan of the Agenda 2030 agenda, which says leaving no one behind. The world as we have it today, I always describe it as a compound house now. It has moved from a global village and it is now a compound house. Not even apartment, but compound house, where just about anybody could be in your business at any time. And you might not have the opportunity of asking the person to hold their horses. The biggest connector has been technology and, most importantly, internet. Internet has become a major connector, which, as we are actually engaging now, proves that regardless of location, people can now still commune and connect and build things for collective good. In that essence, we have the concept of leaving no one behind, which seeks to say that if we are all in this together, then it will take all of us to make it work. There is this concept called global citizenship, which promotes this concept of leaving no one behind. The concept of global citizenship says that all of us are in this together. Humanity is one species, and the earth is all of us, our home, and that we must work individually and collectively to salvage our good. If not, we'll all perish together. Now, if you look at the concept behind the global citizenship idea, and you tailor it to leaving no one behind, which is the slogan attached to the SDGs, you realize that our collective problems, which you find in hunger, which you find in education, which you find in well-being and water and sanitation, which you find in gender equality, which you find in innovation, in infrastructure, which you find in unity, peace, strong institutions, which you find in partnerships, all these things that you find in all these 17 goals, all of them and all the indicators and all the target activities are saying everybody should be involved. So there is this commitment that is requesting that we have to localize as much as we are globalizing the SDGs. So it is all of us our problem. But now we have to find things to bring it to the local level. I'll take it to the local level. But before I go there, still around the issue of leaving no one behind, I would like us to look at how young people are contributing to leaving no one behind. Because Youth Impact Parliament, you are galvanizing young people's contributions in the activities of young people and even other stakeholders within the Volta region. It is imperative that you get to see what you can do. And like I said, I'm going to take this issue from a bigger, broad space, and then I'm going to bring it down more tailored. So let's look at it from the United Nations perspective, because the United Nations as a world or global body has something it is doing from the perspective of young people to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And so I will make reference to the United Nations Youth Strategy. Don't forget that if you are in this meeting and if you get a chance of watching it in the playbacks, I want to encourage you that if you want to do something for this world, for your community, to impact any aspect of their lives, try and read from certain sources to broaden your perspectives and enhance your knowledge base. One of such organizations that is almost about certain you must go to is the United Nations. Now, many of you find it quite a distance, but if you are going to be talking about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, then you must as well try and understand things that the United Nations is doing and how it is doing it so that you can connect yourself to it and support the agenda. One of such is through the youth strategy, the UN Youth Strategy, because the United Nations has a whole youth wing, a whole youth structure that supports young people through different activities, including there's an organization called the Sustainable Development SDSN. Any of you who would like to check it out later on, you can check SDSN out. It is set out to support young people to promote the agenda of the United Nations, especially the SDGs. But if you don't take your time to go through some of these United Nations platforms, you will never get to know some of these truths. If you take your time to visit the United Nations Youth Strategy, you get the opportunity to see some of these organizations and what they are doing. Another initiative under the UN system that I'll introduce to you, apart from the activities of the SDSN, is the Youth 2030. The Youth 2030 is an umbrella framework that is to guide the entire United Nations as it steps out to do its work within and around young people across three main pillars: peace and security, human rights, and sustainable development. In all its context, so youth that are promoting peace and security, human rights, and sustainable development, Youth 2030 is a platform that you can connect yourself to. How do you do that? Just Google Youth 2030. Then you see materials you can read more about to know things they are doing that you can contribute to and support to push the Sustainable Development Goals forward. It is important to recognize that leaving no one behind demands that every skill, every knowledge, every individual counts. So even where you think somebody is so-called disabled, that person equally counts. So I'll talk to some few things when it comes to youth leadership, and I'll touch on one thing about advocacy. Why you can choose to be an advocate just to also make an impact as a youth person in the space. But now let's take a bit of our conversation to how young leaders or young people are also localizing the SDGs in Ghana and in their communities. One of the things that I would say is you need to understand who the stakeholders within your ecosystem are. Who are they? And understand the problems you identify. Once again, remember the Sustainable Development Goals are 17. None of the goals stands by itself. For some strange reason, all the goals, in some English, they say serpentine or interconnected. For some reason, all the goals, one find themselves in another goal finds themselves in another. They've done it in that way because our problems are interconnected, actually. So are the solutions. And so the framework has always considered different stakeholders because there are different problems to solve. And that is the reason why I'm saying in trying to localize the SDGs, you have to consider who the stakeholders you want to engage are and who or what the problem is that you want to deal with. When you understand these two issues, you will come to a common ground that can be a solution that all will participate to solve. This is because in trying to localize any concept, those who are on the ground, the grassroots people, those who the thing actually affect at the end of the day, if they are not party of the process, it will fail eventually. No matter how well you craft the idea, no matter how well you measure your strategies and risk analysis and risk management, whatever, no matter how well you do it, if the core stakeholders are not involved, they will not succeed. Anything wouldn't succeed. And so I will encourage that if you want to be a leader or a young person who is promoting or localizing the 2030 agenda, think about it this way. Look out for the stakeholders, look out for the problem, and out of it, you get the solution. I've already mentioned the need to connect with stakeholders. Now, there are different stakeholders to consider based on what problem. So we have stakeholders who are within the family level, friendship level. Those are inner circle stakeholders. Those are people that you get first-hand interactions with on the regular. Those people, if you are beginning your advocacy and your championing of SDG agenda and trying to localize the SDGs, you can begin with them. Stepping out of the space, you can now focus on another group, which is the society, the community, the town you live in, the suburb of the town you live in, the church you go, the society you join. These are also another stakeholders. Then there are the broader stakeholders that cover regional and national and sometimes continental and even global spaces. So like I said, the United Nations system is something you must take cognizance of. Now, I'm using the word system because the United Nations has a way it functions. One of the ways it functions is through agencies. So when you come to Ghana, for example, we have United Nations agency offices. So you have UNFPA, you would have UNICEF, you would have WTO, you have Habitat, UN Habitat, you have IMO, you have UNDP, you have so many different organizations form the agencies of the United Nations in Ghana. UNESCO. All these organizations are promoting the Sustainable Development Goals in different ways. It will be important for you to take advantage, get to know what these organizations do, visit their website, visit their social media handles, get to see projects and programs they are doing, participate in them, because by doing so, you are not only being a participant, but you're also being an ambassador, because you hear what is going on and better tell the story to others. Organizations like African Union, they equally have agencies in Ghana. You can still engage with some of the agencies that are also promoting similar projects, even including the Agenda 2063, which is African Union's own continental developmental agenda. You can take advantage of the African Union structure and some of the things it is doing to promote the Sustainable Development Goals. How? Visit their website. Get to see projects and activities they are doing. Things that inspire are the things that you have to search for. You will never find it. You have to go and search for it. So be encouraged to go out there and dig for information. I would encourage that many young people, when they heard that the Africa Free Continental Trade Opportunity Agreement has been signed and the trade house was built, they were thinking maybe trade house was going to employ people like the way government employs people to go and be civil servants. No. But by Ghana having this AFTA Secretariat right under our umbrella, it creates a bigger opportunity to get access to certain opportunities, including investor visits. But many of us young people, unfortunately, do not understand what the AFCTA system is about. What the AFTA concept is about. We don't know what it's about. We don't appreciate what it can do for us as young people in our social, in our economic, and in our genuine sustainable development. We don't understand how to turn it around. Young entrepreneurs in our country don't fully appreciate what they can do by positioning themselves ready to take advantage of AFTA. And that is a major thing, because that concept of AFTA promotes the concept of the Sustainable Development Goals too. So by pursuing that as a way to support communities, as a way to get young entrepreneurs, agripreneurs, startups, and young people in business, people who are running their growth business, as you do that to support in that aspect, you are equally also promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. That is another way of localizing the Sustainable Development Goals. I would like to talk about partnerships. The SDGs have 17 goals, but interestingly, the last goal is goal number 17, called Partnerships for the Goal. Under the Millennium Development Goals, goal number 8 was also Partnership for the Goal. So the question is, what is so unique about partnerships that keeps resonating? Don't forget the concept of global citizenship. The concept that it is our problem or it is our benefit. And so either we solve it together one bit at a time, or we enjoy it together one bit at a time. In other words, somebody is putting plastics into the ocean right now as we are talking. Somebody is under some cave, some dark hole, doing galamsey right now, and it is raining on top, but he's still down there trying to look for gold right now. Somebody is standing by a riverside right now, pouring and digging the river for ornaments right now. The problem is collective. To solve it, it will take everybody, partnerships. To find solutions, it will take everybody, partnerships. To find even the resources to do the job, it will take partnerships. To find commitment, so that we don't start and in the middle of the road, people will walk out of it because somebody feels that you have not dealt well with me. It will take partnerships. And it takes partnerships at the local, at the national, and at the global levels to make this happen. And so whilst we are looking at localizing our activities, I'm going to encourage that you join organizations. If it is partnerships, Youth Impact Parliament, they've spoken with TECHFARM Hub. And as the CEO, I'm here. If I speak on this platform, we have engaged on something that is promoting the SDGs. We are working to promote the SDGs. It's partnerships, collaborations. Knowing that no man is a repository of wisdom and knowledge, seek partnerships. Partnership is not always about money. If not, people won't marry. Partnerships is about resources that each individual brings, some tangible, some intangible. Now, if you understand partnerships with a win-win approach, where you are not self-centered to think that only you deserve to get something good, but you understand that in this project, if we are achieving this, this is the benefit to the community. This is the benefit to the one who helped me. And this is the benefit I get for being part of this. That is how partnership works. So wherever you are, whatever you want to do, whether in your business, or in your NGO, or in this youth parliament, or you go about doing school activities, or you go about church business, or you go about any related activity, remember, partnerships is golden. And it always has to have something in mind. The end. What would you like to do? What do you want to achieve? And what do you want to make as a measure, as an impact? Remember, in all that we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. In trying to localize the concept, I also encourage that you join organizations. You know, aside the UN systems and the AU systems and all these other multinational systems, we also have the other activities, the NGOs, the civil society organizations. Some of them are communities, some of them are clubs. Some operate as foundations, but some operate as associations. They are not the same. Some operate as charity. Each of these are all under the civil society NGO block, but how they go about their jobs are different. So, for example, I know an organization called the United Nations Youth Association Ghana. UNYA is an association of young people who work to promote specific peace building related agenda under Resolution 2250, which is a United Nations resolution that young people are pioneering globally. Now, in my efforts to implement or support achieve the SDGs, I am part of that organization. And I do activities that support things that eventually promotes the SDGs. So when I say join organizations, that's an association, for example. I also have an organization called TECHFARM Hub. It is a hub. What we do is business development. We do innovation. We talk about agriculture, agripreneurship. We talk about agribusinesses. We deal with the issues of smart agriculture, where technology is what drives and pushes the future of agriculture, and that's what we do. We empower startups, we're empowering entrepreneurs, we're giving young people opportunity to build their ideas into reality, giving them access to technology and its related gadgets. That is what TECHFARM does. That is also another community. The things we are doing in there, though it is more focused on technology and development in that angle, we are still promoting the SDGs. I don't know how many of you have heard about YGI, Youth Government Initiative, under the United Nations Youth Association Ghana. YGI is an initiative, not this time, it is not an association, it is not a community or a hub. This is a different initiative. This is an initiative which we can create one, including this particular session we are having, which is also an initiative. So YGI is an initiative that models after the three arms of government. So we have all the three arms of government within a constitutional system as we have in the Republic of Ghana at the moment. And all these three arms are building themselves to function interconnectively to achieve and promote youth-focused activities. That's also invariably is promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. Let me give you an example of another initiative. There is another initiative called Unleash. And Unleash has something that is upcoming called Unleash Hack. If you want to ever promote anything on the Sustainable Development Goals, if you hear about Unleash Hack, go online and go and search about it. You can also go and search for the SDG Innovation Challenge 2020-2021 and the other years coming. You can go and Google and check SDG Innovation Challenge. That is also another activity of young people creating, modeling, building technology, building innovative ideas, and pitching for opportunities so they can build their ideas into realities. That is another one. There is an upcoming event that TECHFARM is connected with. It's called the Ghana CanSat Rocketry Championship. It's about building of rockets, building of satellites, using a can. I'm talking about a soda can, or a Coca-Cola can, or a Malta Guinness can. And it's a competition. And the idea is to encourage more young people in the tertiary institutions to take advantage of such opportunities. Now, when you are involved in things of this nature, part of Sustainable Development Goals in education and even in goal number 17 is to connect people to technology and technological opportunities. So when you take goal number 17, you will see partnership for the goals. But I talked something about targets and indicators. When you go to the target and indicators, you realize that technology and technological tools are part of what connects and makes the partnership possible. On that note, I want to say a big thank you because I told you there are going to be two parts to this discussion. One is going to be a mainstream, and I told you I was going to do something. I'm actually drinking from an SDG cup, so just so you can know. Okay, so that we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, what I'm going to be looking at is youth leadership related issues. And then we're going to then connect all of it to the whole idea. So just a moment, one more sip, there we go. Okay, so in this particular session, my focus is going to be on youth leadership. And I made mention that in this session, this particular part, I'm going to have a conversation with you. It's going to be a dialogue. It's not going to be one-sided. So if you are here at this point, I'm going to be asking you to introduce yourself. Introduce yourself so that I can at least call you by your name, because what is going to happen is I'm going to give 1 or 2 points, and at each point I'm going to just give a brief, and I'm going to ask you to share with us your opinion. That is what I'm saying. We're going to have to do it interactively so that it's not, you know what I'm saying? So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go back to what I was saying before. Now let's think about this quote. Leadership begins with self. Leadership begins with self. And if you are with me, I want all of us to type it in the chat box. Leadership begins with self. This is the part where I say we're going to be interactive. So we are starting with the chat. Soon I'll open ask the microphone to be open. So the starting part is type. Let's please type, leadership begins with self. That is my personal quote. Now, the question is, why have we chosen to use that word, leadership begins with self? I've just realized that there are chats going on. I'm waiting, though, people. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if leadership begins with self. Right Honorable Speaker, please, thank you for your explanation, but I'm waiting for leadership begins with self. Thank you very much. Now, this is what okay, I've actually been asked to, please hold on, hold on, and let me, I'm Mr. Speaker, I'm going to please share the material on the screen, or better still, I can equally do it from here. So give me some rights to.
Yes, you can share it. Just click the presentation button and then I think you first have to open it. When you open it, then you can now share it as a screen for us.
Okay, so can my screen be seen, please?
Yes, please. We can see your screen. I thought
You
you
can
were
see my
using your
screen.
laptop, though. Yeah.
I'm not using my laptop, but you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so I believe I've taken some time to talk about most of these activities. I was supposed to use this to do my interactions with you. It just happened that
if you like, you can still send it to me on WhatsApp, and then
sure,
yes,
I'm going to send it to you.
Or if you can rotate your screen so that it
Can you
be
see
done.
my screen?
Yes, but it's portrait, that's why, and we can hardly see how they see.
Oh, okay.
So if you rotate it, yes, we can
Let me
see
rotate it.
exactly.
Is it better now?
Fantastic. It's fantastic. So we can see everything now. Yes,
okay.
We can see everything.
So I believe we've talked about the SDGs and we've talked about all these issues, and so we're going to move straight to okay, so that's where we are. Where we say leadership begins with self. And like I said, it's my personal quote. And I'm director of, I'm going to call you director of Adivino.
No problem.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I got what you said, but I can't at the moment go back to read it. So let me take it this way. I believe personally that you cannot lead anybody but yourself. That it is only when you master leading yourself that you can lead another person. So I have always believed that you need to build certain characteristics, to build certain leadership characteristics, to build a specific personality so that you can be a leader. Today I was talking with my team. We went for another facilitation with Plan International Ghana. And in that presentation today, I was telling the people there that there's a difference between a boss and a leader. One gives commands. One makes requests. One demands. One persuades. One has the desire to make sure that no matter what you are doing, only what they want is what you get. One wants to make you better than they found you. A leader always wants to make you better. Why? It's because leadership, to have the characteristics of a leader, you will have to first go through some learning. And those learnings, those activities, those experiences, it molds you. And that's why I say that if you have not molded yourself, if you have not imbibed those characteristics into yourself, you cannot do same for another person. And you cannot influence another person or get another person to do what you think or you know will help them and help you all. It is always very important to remember, leadership begins with self. Let's continue. So basically, to become a successful global leader, what must you do? If leadership begins with self, and you appreciate that you have to be the first person who will be the leader, and you are going to deal with the world as your global compound house, and your small community as your base compound house, how are you going to deal? How are you going to think? How are you going to respect? How to go about it? The first, think local, think grassroots. Young people have a major task. The task we have is to remember that the problems up at the top begin from the bottom. Many of us, we condemn government and government leadership and government this and communism that. But genuinely, truthfully, we ourselves are part of the very reasons why the system is not working. We are the first problem creators, and yet we are the first people who also point to others. If we can think of our problems locally, within ourselves as young people, if we can see our problems as grassroots, that if young people in this country, we can change the way we think as Ghanaians, think as young people who tomorrow we will be the ones respected and expected to produce results for this country. If we change the way we think, we'll save ourselves and help our country. We should learn to solve basic problems at each opportunity that you get, that I get. Many of the problems that we are all facing is a problem for all. But we should try as much as possible to look for ways to solve them. So, as young people who are in a parliament, you'll be meeting and you'll be discussing issues. Remember that the issues you are talking about, excuse my language, are not rhetorics. They are intended to make impact. On that basis, be encouraged to do that. Be encouraged to go to the level of trying to solve the problems at each opportunity you get. Now, in the same light, what are other things that you're supposed to look at still, because you want to still build yourself into a leader that can make impact? Set your mind to achieve.
Yeah, hello, sir. If
Yes.
you could zoom in a little bit.
Is that clearer now?
Fantastic.
Set your mind to achieve. Everything that we are doing is mind focused. Life, if you are defeated in the mind, that is the end of the story. I always say, the Bible said Job, he lost it all, but it in his head. And because he did not lose it in his head, he eventually resurfaced. And Bible says the Lord blessed him in double fold to his previous reward. As young people want to be leaders. Young people who want to promote the Sustainable Development Goals, promote the Agenda 2063, promote opportunities within the AFCTA. All these things begins with the mind, the thoughts, the things we think about. And it can all be done within a time frame. So let us remember that we will not always become young people. Someday, sometime, we will become the old people. Time will elude us. So we should make up our mind quickly, and so we can begin to act on them. Young people, when we face challenges, the best time in life to face challenge is when you are young. The most important part of the tree is when it is growing. Why? Because anything can move it. You plant a seed, it begins to show you signs it's going to grow into an oak. Between the first few years of its life, anything can remove that oak. It is when it reaches a stage of maturity that it will be literally impossible to move it. But in the beginning, there will be challenges. So young people, take time and brace yourself to go through the challenge so that it can build you, because leadership has characteristics. Those characteristics, they don't come by chance, they come by building. You have to be built. And in that building, the Bible says, unless a seed is put to the ground and it dies. So there's some parts that it has to lose itself. Until you lose yourself, you cannot see the new of you. So when we are going through problems and challenges, young people, let us not hold ourselves to defeat, but let us be brave and yet prudent. Another character you have to pick to your mind. Be honest. Inform your co-workers, inform all the people you work with about the situations that keep changing. Today I was telling some of the participants in the workshop that any entrepreneur or agripreneur or a business person or even a leader who does not change their mind has a problem. It is your inability to make decisive decisions and to get results that is the issue. Not that you cannot change your mind. Because you see, in this life, the dynamics will constantly keep shifting. From planning to implementation, things constantly shift. And so if you want to be static as a leader, you will never achieve anything. What do you have to do? You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to be malleable, to accept, to compromise, and know when to ask and request for what is also due you, or even demand where it is necessary. To do these things, you have to build a sense of straight to the point, honesty. If it is good, it is good. If it is bad, it is bad. Nobody likes bad news, but everybody has a bad news one day. So to build honesty, they say if it's plus, plus, minus, minus, times, times, divide, divide. But if it's plus, let it be plus. It is very important that if you want to be a leader, you win trust. Leadership is a human business. You need to deal with human beings. And human beings are something else. You and I know. We are complex. This evening I was there and just dropped in my mind that we call them animals and we call ourselves human beings. We are beings. They are animals. They are trees. They are not beings. We don't call them beings. There's a reason we don't call them beings and we call ourselves beings. Because we relate. But to lead, you need to gain trust. Why would people have to trust you? Because if they are going to work on projects with you, and some money is going to come by the side, and you are going to sit on it for them to sweat on the road, to go and get a project that will sensitize people about SDGs, talk about things, and then you chop the money, that is not truthful. If you are going to deal with stakeholders and they can't trust that you, the things you say with your mouth, you mean it, and that they can depend on it, that in case problem comes, they will have something to stand on and you will not abandon the boat. That is very important, trust. The track record, the things you do in your personal space, the things you do in other spaces, those ones that conflict with the things that can help you grow, those ones too. Build trust around them. Be calm. Learn to be calm. Everybody is in a rush, but it's only the one who is calm that gathers all. I'm a fancy, so let me say that fancy for the Zoze Minka Otterson Oja Piwechi. In other words, literally, when you run to pick, you lose many behind. Let's be calm. Let's pursue our passion. What I'm doing, I love to do what I'm doing. Right now, I'm not talking later, I'm talking now. What I'm doing with you, I love doing what I'm doing. Engaging with young people, sharing my knowledge and sharing my experiences and listening to them and working with them to build way forward. I love to do this. It's passion. Listen and observe. The Bible says that it is not for nothing that we have 2 ears and 1 tongue, 2 eyes but 1 tongue, 2 noses but 1 tongue, 1 mouth. Even the mouth itself is 2, but the tongue itself is 1. It is very important that we appreciate it. That by observation, man came to realize how to govern from learning about nature and how nature does it. Just by observation, men realize that animals can govern themselves too. That trees are not just trees, that they also communicate just by observation. So it means that as youth parliamentarians, if we observe the environment we find ourselves, if we are not always jabbing and yabbing and talking, but sometimes just listen and watch. I also say set a good example. Today, people are celebrities and you wonder why they are called celebrities. They are called influencers, and you ask yourself, what do they influence? Who do they influence? And what are they influencing with? Because it beats your understanding, it just doesn't add up. Why? People have become all sorts of things. We should be good examples. Stay organized. I always say God is order. I'll never stop saying it because Bible makes me to understand that wherever He is, there is order. And so I also believe that wherever God, who is the leader of all leaders, is, there is always order. And so it is order in relationships that you build. It is order in relationship you deal with in stakeholders. It is order in projects that you do. It is order in the accountability of resources that you have. It is order in the relationships that you have with the people you work with. Order. It is order in the way we dress, the way we think and talk. God is order. I'll tell you something. Develop your unique leadership characteristics. Developing it will take you time. Somebody will say hallelujah. Between hallelujah, that is where the growing, the pain, the hustle, the rejection, the cut downs, the look downs, the pullbacks, all those periods, hallelujah. Between that point, that is where you have to build and develop your unique characteristics. I say unique because every person has a different way they lead, although all the characteristics are the same. But remember this, respect the process. I have a book one day I'll surely write. It's called the 360 180 degrees. Understand that you can't go halfway. That to get results, you have to respect that if you move from class 1 and you catapult yourself to class 6, remember that you go to JSS 1. When you get to JSS 1, they will give you class 4 question. If you don't know that class 4 question, you will go back to class.
Yes, hello. I'm very sure our guest speaker was interrupted with a call. So let's hold on. He will join very soon. Okay.
It's for combinations
Yes, hello, sir. It appears your network is as if fluctuating. Yes, sir. So,
in the one
yes, hello, sir. Um, it appears your network has been greatly disrupted. It's like we can't exactly hear. Yes.
for H really was willing to help them.
Yes, honored members, it appears our guest speakers next week have been significantly disrupted. So, in the interim, very soon the session would end and then we'll delve into the question and answers. So, kindly get your questions down, and when it is time for the Q&A, you would have to indicate it in the income message, and then I'll call you. So start getting your questions and contributions down. Our guest speaker has joined, and then I'll allow him to proceed. Thank you. Mr. Kobina, the floor is yours. Yes, Mr. Kobina, the floor is yours, please. It appears his network has been disrupted significantly. So, honor members, yes, okay, he has joined again. Yes, sir. Please proceed. Yeah, Mr. Kobina, Longdon. I don't know whether the network is stable. Honor members, we are likely to proceed to questions and answers so that we'll have all the questions and answers. So that when he comes, then he'll answer the questions and equally give us his closing statement. Yes. So if you have any question, you can indicate it in the income message. Indicate it in the income message. Then I'll call you to speak. Indicate it in the income message. Yes. If our guest speaker can still proceed, no problem about that. We have about 40 minutes to closure. Yes, Mr. Kobina, is your connection good? Yes. Oh, Willis, I'm using two devices. No, please, we can't hear you, Mr. Guest speaker. We can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, so Willis, I'm the one speaking. I'm the speaker, the host accordingly. So if you have your questions, kindly indicate them and then I'll call you to speak. Whenever the network of our guest speaker is good, we'll proceed to invite him. Yeah. Stop. Yeah, so honorable members, if you have a question or contribution, we are now dodging into the questions and answers session. So if you have questions, you can indicate it. Just type question in the income message, and then I'll call you to speak. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Kobina, I think I can
Yes,
hear you
hello.
now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you.
I have actually done my whole presentation and done with until I realized you are saying you couldn't hear me. So if I have missed something, let me take this opportunity to do a quick one with you. Is that okay?
Yes, please proceed.
I must say I have done my presentation. So at this point, let's take it that you can ask a question or two, then we can take the conversation forward. I would say that I'll add the related materials to it so that you can also utilize it for other activities as well. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I would ask you to open the floor for questions that we can interact with. Thank you.
Yes, accordingly, our guest speaker, thank you very much for the presentation. I'd like to proceed to the questions and answers. So if anyone has a question, kindly indicate it in the income message, and then I'll accordingly call you to ask your question. However, usually our participants don't have questions until I ask mine. So I'll still proceed to ask mine. Our guest speaker, throughout the presentation, you have been talking about sustainable development goals. I'm curious to know about the goals specifically. What goal one talks about, goal 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 to the 17th one. If you can kindly speak on that, I'll be glad. If you can talk briefly on each of the goals, I'll be glad.
Please, if you have any other question, add it to it. We'll put it together. Thank you.
Yes. Honourable members, are there any questions? Please, it is time for questions. So if you have any question, just unmute yourself and ask your question. Or in the interim, if our guest speaker could deal with mine, when he's dealing with mine, we'll see whether if there are any further questions. So if you could proceed to ask my question, answer my question, I'll be glad. Thank you.
Great. So let me deal with it this way, and I'm sure it will be easier going forward. Now, all the 17 goals, as per what we are asking for. Like I said, there are 17 of them. The goal number 1 says no poverty. Basically, I said that the SDGs, some of them, in fact, most of them actually came from the Millennium Development Goals, and upon evaluation and way forward strategies, they merged into the 17. So, and that's all the goals are interconnected. So though you are talking about one, the other is also connected to another goal. For that reason, they literally walk side by side. But as individual goals, these are what they are. Goal number 1 says no poverty. And in there, I've already mentioned about indicators and I've mentioned about targets. So based on these targets and indicators, the way of measuring implementation strategies will differ. Now, before I go, I'll have to even prompt something about the VNR, the Voluntary National report that we develop alongside measuring systems that have been put in place regarding the SDGs. So goal number 1 says no poverty. Goal number 2 says zero hunger. Goal number 3 says good health and well-being. Goal number 4 says quality education. Thank you very much for sharing your screen. Goal number 5 says gender equality. Goal number 6 says clean water and sanitation. Goal number 7 says affordable and clean energy. Goal number 8 says decent work and economic growth. Goal number 9 says industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Goal number 10 says reduced inequality. 11, please give me a moment. I'm trying to follow what's on the screen. Goal number 11 says make cities and human cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Goal number 12 says ensure sustainable consumption and production. Now, let me try to put something here. All these things are built on certain specific P's. They call it the 5 P's. The 5 P's encapsulate the core areas that the SDGs are built on. Now, within the 5 P's, it will touch on economic, social, environment, and sustainable development. So all these goals we are talking about, either one or all of them are talking about social, economic, and sustainable development related activities. The 5 P's. I've realized that Sylvia has written something on the 5 P's. If you could highlight a bit of what the 5 P's are for us. If any of you knows what the 5 P's are, they are people, planet. Anyone else knows anything else? You could add people, planet, prosperity. Beautiful. We are left with 2 more to go. 2 more to go. Anyone knows peace, partnerships? Thank you very much, Sylvia, for the information you have given to us. By the way, thank you very much, Sylvia. Very grateful. People, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. These 5 P's are the pivotal grounds through which you can easily engage and understand what to do with the SDGs in terms of approach to engage, approach to implement. So I would encourage that you remember these 5 P's: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. Remember that it's in line with one particular agenda, which is social, economic, and related activities in sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our guest speaker. We'll proceed with the questions and answers. Honourable members, are there any questions? Do you have any questions? If you have a question, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Mauli Mensa. Okay, I have a question about sustainable development. One thing that is destroying our, let's say, our community is, let's say, corruption. And this corruption, you can see that there is money available for some things, or there are ways that our country can develop, but this corruption is actually eating into that. So what are some of the things that we can do to get rid of this so that
Okay. Thank you, Mauli. Mr. Guest Speaker, you can proceed to answer the question.
It's an interesting question if I to understand a bit of what he's talking about in relation to corruption. Corruption is an interesting discussion because as young people, we are indoctrinated into corruption even when we are unaware. And it's unfortunate that we are living in times where bad news get press and good news don't get. People have to pay a lot more for good news to get a little media attention. But mess up and make a mistake and let bad news happen to you right now. I'm not going to go and ask to come and talk about your case, we'll talk about your case. All I'm trying to say is we live in times where it comes to issue of sustainability and corruption, for our own safety, for our own good as humanity, as individuals, as community of people, we should consider sustainability as imperative and as incumbent and as a major responsibility. The rationale behind sustainability says that whatever resource you have today, you are going to use and manage it in a way that future generations will come and meet some of it that they can also use to their benefit, for others also in the future to come and meet some of it. That is the concept behind sustainability. So if all that we are doing, for example, in today's life we are doing, is doing galamsey, and already Ghana Water Company is telling us we'll start having water shortage. It is not going to be one person who is going to suffer that water shortage. But it began with some people deciding that for their own parochial greedy interest, they will sideline everybody and go and look for the money that will help them to succeed and not the collective. Sustainability and corruption. My encouragement is that as young people, we should try as much as possible to encourage ourselves to look for the best ways to improve our lives other than choosing shortcuts. I keep saying there is no shortcut in leadership. You either go through the full cycle or you don't see yourself becoming a good leader. So be encouraged. Sustainability gives you the mind to think into the future today. If you are an individual who has to lead yourself, think sustainability in your choices, in your decisions, in your actions, and your inactions. Think sustainability for the things that you do on day-to-day basis. You will be the first ambassador. I'll be an ambassador. We'll keep going forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Are there any further questions? Are there any further questions? If you have any, okay, Mr. Nuku, you can proceed to ask your questions.
All right, good evening, Honorable. Good evening, our guest speaker. Thank you for this well-elaborated education. Despite the fact that I joined the conversation very late, I think by what I have gotten now, I'm a bit educated. Per the 17 SDGs that the speaker has outlined, or maybe has been outlined in the 2030 SDG agenda. The first one talks about poverty. And I want to understand the definition given to poverty in that context. Thank you.
It is a very interesting question that you have asked me. I'm not going to quote dollar rates to determine poverty. Because then if you live in Russia, that will not be something that would encourage you at all. I'm only going to say that poverty is when people don't have access to the basic necessity of life, or do so at a very expensive rate. I'll say it again. Human beings need some basic things for survival. If those basic things are absent, you are poor. So things like food, I'm not talking 3 square meals. So that if you don't eat 3 square meals, you think you are poor. I'm talking about getting access to, even if it's a 1 meal all fruit meal, it's still a meal. Clean water, because 60 to 70% of your makeup as a human being will request you on day-to-day basis to drink water. So if you don't have access to that kind of water, you have a problem, and that means your survival will be at stake. Clean air. If the air you breathe in would end up affecting your lungs and giving you problems that would kill your health, you should understand that that also challenges your survival as a human being. That can make you poor. Then, of course, you come to the other related material things that you look at to measure security. For example, house. Where do you sleep? Where do you live? For example, how do you commune yourself? Do you walk? Do you crawl? Do you fly? Do you drive? Do you ride? How? But in all, poverty just means that the basic amenities, the basic things that ensures your survival is not there. And for that reason, you cannot survive. That is all I can say about that. Thank you. And please, I will encourage that we bubble up a bit, because I have another meeting to join in the next few.
Yes, indeed. Our guest speaker, I would like, on that note, for us to have Nuku's question as the last question. So, if you would like, I would like us to proceed to your closing remarks for us to close today's program.
Well, I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker of the Youth Impact Parliament, and to the entire House for the opportunity to be part of this interaction today. It is always an opportunity, because I say learning and sharing is all that we can do to ourselves. And I will also say that iron sharpens iron. When iron sharpens wood, it will cut it. So it is important that as we are living in this life and going on, and as we are learning on the go, we help ourselves and improve each other's life, so that in the future we can have a stronger force to say iron has sharpened iron. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on that topic, youth and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I believe it was a timely topic that had so many issues that we can look at, because there are so many aspects of the Sustainable Development Agenda that we can look at. However, since there are so many dimensions to it, we cannot elapse everything in one sitting. So what I will encourage is that if you are an ambassador of something, you search more about the thing. If you are interested to engage with something, you interact to find more about the thing. So if you want to know more about the Sustainable Development Goals, if you don't know where to start, go to the United Nations Organization page on online. Just type un.org, and that point will take you into many other information. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I wish you all the very best in your major endeavors going forward. God bless.
Thank you very much, our guest speaker. Our honorable members, I'll proceed to my closing remarks. Honorable members, on behalf of leadership and myself, I wish to convey the sincerest gratitude of the House to our guest speaker, WH Kobina Longdon. I'm skipping the other name, he knows. He's a developer and the chief executive of TECHFARM Hub, and also to add, he is currently the third deputy country head of United Nations Youth Association. I want to thank him very much for coming to impact us with his mass experience and lecture us on today's topic, which is Youth and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. God bless him so much for availing himself. Today had been a tight day for him, but he has still made himself available as it is his passion. Sir, thank you so much. I also want to use this opportunity to appreciate the efforts of members who have availed themselves to be impacted, and the ones who have publicized this seminar and equally participated in it. Most especially to my graphic designer, Mr. Dollar Gladstone, Youth MP, and ATSRCPR, who wholeheartedly designed this beautiful poster for us without taking a penny. Mr. Kobina as well, I haven't paid him anything, but he has delivered. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. For the attention of the House and all participants, I hereby indulge you all to follow TECHFARM Hub on Facebook, and equally follow Youth Impacts Parliament on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and YouTube. You can mail us on yiparliament@yahoo.com as well. This parliament is a youth organization established that creates opportunity for youth to be groomed in leadership roles, public speaking, parliamentary business, social norms and values. We are still in our first parliamentary year since establishment, and we have held a lot of seminars and sittings. We have held not less than 6 regular sittings, 3 pilot sittings, and then today we are having our 9th virtual leadership seminar. Also, for the attention for the House, we'll be having our first anniversary special sitting next week, Friday, that is the 22nd of April, 2022, at Paradise International Youth Auditorium in Home, the Volta region. All our members who wish to support us can as well do. This house is open for support from the general public. All who wish to support our vision can support us in kind or cash, or link us to organizations who give. You can contact me on +233 20147 6896 and support us. As of now, our membership is valid per participation in our activities and sittings. For the second parliament, we have introduced constituency representation from OT, Volta region, Eastern and Central region. But we'll also very soon be unveiling our general membership form for anyone worldwide, nationwide, region-wide to join. And that is different from being a youth MP. So we'll have general membership available to everyone. And then if you want to be a youth MP in a particular parliament, you can as well join by filling that form and complying per the terms. I'll now proceed to the vote of thanks. Now, members, at this juncture, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank the Almighty God for making this program a success. My second thanks goes to our guest speaker, WH Kobina A. Longdon, for making time to facilitate our program and taking delight in it. Thank you, sir. And I also want to use this opportunity to thank all of you who have directly and indirectly contributed to the success of this program in terms of organization and publicity. God bless you all. My last thanks goes to all participants who have joined us tonight and will join us in the premiered version on Facebook and YouTube. On behalf of leadership and myself, I hereby congratulate you all for availing yourself to be impacted. I'll now proceed to the closing prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this youth impact parliament. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give wisdom and understanding to all who have participated in this seminar, that they may proceed to implement what they have heard and learned, which will result in their personal development. We commit into your hands our 9th guest speaker for facilitating the 9th edition of the Virtual Leadership Seminar Series. We commit into your hands our subsequent speakers and leadership seminars. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality, and inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Youth Impact Parliament, Volta region, Ghana, and the entire world. Amen. God bless you all, and have a great night. I'm Jones Amegashie-Viglo, Speaker and Founder of Youth Impact Parliament. Have a nice day. Bye.